Okay, live streaming on Facebook officially for Spotlight Sunday. I'm so freaking excited to have Britt here because I actually know Britt. I love having new people that I have never met before, but I also really love people that I know. So I'm super, super excited. So Britt, I would love it if you could just take a minute to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you and your business and how you got started. And while you're doing that, I'm going to share the video, all the techie places.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks, Brooke. Thanks for having me on. So my name is Britt Westfall, and I am a transformational life coach, and I work mainly with women who have tended to be on the shy or quiet side and who are looking to step into more visibility in their work. You know, maybe they've been in background roles or, you know, just kind of held themselves back in their career, and they're wanting to get really clear on what they want and the confidence to go do it.
I love it. So how did you get into that? Like, how did you decide this is the thing for you?
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, it was a journey that I went on myself, right? So, I kind of just kept landing in these roles that I wasn't really passionate about. And I always kind of felt like I was selling myself short a little bit, but I just didn't have like the clarity on what I wanted to do. And I also didn't have the confidence to go do it. And I was just really shy. It was hard for me to speak up. You know, I would get super nervous in like meetings or if I ever had to present something. And so I kind of like, you know, was comfortable in these background roles, you know, but my heart was like, no, but there's more out there for you, you know? And so I realized that this was an area that, you know, of huge growth that I could go into. And so I see that this, you know, I see other people that are still kind of stuck in this shyness. And, you know, for some people, it's been around for like 20 years, you know, maybe since like junior high or high school. It's like so silly that it's still like following, you know, us around, but, you know, it's more common than you would think. I was just reading a statistic that I think it's 47% of Americans identify as shy.
Wow.
And that number is actually going up because of technology.
Yeah.
The less human interaction that we have, like people are actually becoming more shy. And so, you know, not everybody's like really outward about it. It's not obvious, you know, that all like 47% are shy, but inside they're like suffering and they're anxious.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable. It just, you know, I think that there's so much talent out there and like, you know, new voices that could be heard. Like, it's just a cool thought. Like, what would the world be like, you know, with fresh leadership, with new people you're not used to hearing from.
I love it. Well, and we were talking before we went live too, just I love how you're saying shy and not introvert, because usually like people are talking about being introverted, but it's not the same thing, right? Like it's totally different. So can you talk about that a little bit and how you do that?
I would love to. And I know you're an introvert and I'm an introvert.
It's not the same thing though.
But yeah, they don't have to be the same thing. You know, sometimes they go hand in hand, but not necessarily. And so I think I hid behind that introversion thing for a long time when really I had to look at myself and be like, you know what, some of this is introversion of why you don't want to, you know, party or whatever. But like some of the time it's actual like shyness or social anxiety. And so I had to kind of come to terms with that and stop just like hiding behind the label of like, oh, I'm an introvert. Like, I don't want to do all these things. And so, you know, the way I kind of look at it, you know, when you're thinking about like, oh, should I approach this like group or like put myself out there in this way? Is it that you truly are feeling burnt out because you've been peopling all day? That's what I call it, peopling. Or is it that you are nervous about like what the outcome might be or like what people might think of you? You know, are you just feeling uncomfortable about going for that reason, or are you truly burnt out? Because an introvert just needs that alone time to recharge. But shyness, you know, is really a different thing.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. I'm so excited. So Crystal's here and says hi, and Natalie and Amber. Amber says shy introvert here, overcoming the shy part. Yes.
Oh, yeah. And it's so, you know, and it's cool. Like, there's actually a lot of influencers that are introverts, you know, like I think Brene Brown is an introvert, like Glennon Doyle.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of those people too that are like authors first and then became like speakers and stuff.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't really expect them to be introverts. You know, they're so, you know, bold and like able to like be like these great communicators and stuff. But that's a true testament of like introversion and shyness, you know, are not necessarily the same thing.
Yes, I love it. I love that example.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so before we dig into all of your amazingness, I want to make sure everybody knows that for new people that are here, you can always, always, always talk to us when we're live. Like, give us comments, ask questions, whatever you want to do in the comments, as long as you're nice. Nobody around here would be mean anyway, but Christy's here. Hello, Christy. So always talk to us and engage. And then before we dig in, I just always have to ask my branding question. So just, I want to know, like, what does branding mean for you? Like, how does it show up in your business? And no right or wrong answer here, as long as you don't say colors and logo. that would be a wrong answer.
Yeah. Well, before I got into this world, you know, when I was just like on my corporate path, I used to think of branding as just like that, like colors and logos, like, oh, the graphic designer is now going to tell me I need to change my signature line or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and have a business of my own, I see that it's so much bigger than that. And it's really something that's woven into everything that you do. And, you know, and so, yeah, you have like your virtual storefront or whatever, but, you know, it's woven into not even just all your like design and aesthetic stuff, but like also like just the feel of your business, like your vibe and, you know, kind of even like your values and like the way that you show up for your customers and your followers. It's like the whole picture.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah. So, there was something I was going to say, or did you have like a follow-up question about the branding or?
Just like, how does it show up in your business? Like, how has it affected or changed the way that you show up?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know too, like for me, you know, I am trying to appeal to, you know, like millennials and like younger Gen X and that. And so for me, you know, I know our generation, like we have high expectations and I just know that there's kind of, you know, like life coaching, it's newish, but it's also been around for a while. And I just knew that I wanted to kind of like really have a brand that was set apart from other people I had seen, like kind of the old school way.
Yeah.
That was important to me to weave that into everything I do and to just like have like a really modern, you know, feel and look to it.
I love it. Awesome. Okay. Well, I'm super, super excited. I see there are a bunch of people watching us live right now, but only like 3 people have said hi to me. So please say hi to Britt and I. And yeah, let's dig in. I'm super, super excited to hear about this stuff. I'm an introvert and have always been shy. So I got both things going on. So I'm super excited.
Yeah, totally. And have you started to see the difference there in yourself between the shyness and the introversion?
Definitely. Yeah. Because I just like get really awkward in social situations. Amber's on here. We went to that event last week in Virginia and just like, it's the shy thing. Like the introvert, like once I'm there, it's for the introvert part. I feel like just getting out of the house, like convincing myself to go. But then once I'm there, the whole shy thing takes over. And then I just get really awkward and say the first thing that pops into my head.
Yeah.
Usually very good.
And if I took a guess, it's probably like something that like you could trace all the way back to childhood, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right. Well, so that actually ties in really well with what I'm talking about today.
Cool.
So I wanted to spend quite a bit of time talking about the inner critic. So probably most everyone here has heard at least a little bit about the inner critic. Some of you maybe have had some training on it, but probably a lot of you haven't. So I like to teach about the inner critic because I feel that it really goes hand in hand with some of the shyness. So like, so when you were at this conference, Brooke, and you like, you know, first showed up and you saw that there were all these people there and like all these interactions we had, did you like, can you think about like some of the like thoughts that were going through your head? Like, were they like harsh or like critical thoughts about yourself, or like what was kind of going on there?
Yeah, usually it's like, I don't know what to say, or just, you know, these people are so cool, like imposter syndrome type stuff. Like, these are such awesome, powerful women. Like, I just talk to my video camera all day.
Yeah,
Stuff
yeah.
like that, or just, yeah. I also am the only one with purple hair and a nose ring usually in the room, so that too.
Yep. So the inner critic is kind of, it's that harsh critical voice that comes up, you know, like imposter syndrome is like a huge one that comes up. And it's really kind of this nasty voice that like we probably would never talk to anyone else this way, but we talk to ourselves that way, right?
So true.
And so here's where it's going to get like really a little bit meta. So the inner critic is part of us, but not us. So what I want to talk about is creating some awareness around it and creating that separation so that you can actually like observe and realize when the inner critic has taken over.
Cool. I love it.
So the inner critic is a part of us, but it's not us. So have you ever like heard yourself saying like, oh, a part of me wants to do this, but another part of me wants to do that?
Mm-hmm.
So like that's an example of how we have these different parts of us and they're sometimes at odds with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So what you want to do is start to really recognize that inner critic and recognize and, you know, really tap into, okay, is this me, my true aligned self talking, or is this like another part of me that isn't really who I am?
Mm-hmm.
So an analogy I have here for the inner critic is I like to think of us being on this road trip in life, and, you know, we're driving along somewhere cool, hopefully, and who is behind the wheel, right? Mm-hmm. Is it you or is it the inner critic? And so, you know, if we've got like our friends in the car and those are like different parts of us, let's hope that the inner critic is like in the back seat. Like they're allowed to be in the car, but we don't want them to be behind the wheel because we want to go somewhere cool and exciting, right? And the inner critic is probably going to take us to like some boring, you know, state that we don't really want to go to. Yeah. Because it wants to keep us in our comfort zone.
Yeah, I love that analogy. That's awesome.
Yeah. So what you want to do to start to recognize the inner critic is you want to start to recognize, you know, what are the words that it commonly uses. So whenever I hear a client say should, my ears always perk up a little bit. Or when I catch myself saying should, you know, it's not always that would be the inner critic, but that's like a word that it really loves to use for a lot of people is that should, you know, like that guilt or like always feeling like, oh, I should be doing this. Like it's never like good enough, right? And so start to pay attention to like what words it's using, and, you know, what are the kind of phrases or things that it often tells you. So like and by the way, we can have more than one inner critic. Makes it a little
they're super fun, right?
But you know, and so like I have an inner critic that loves to tell me like that I am like lazy and like, you know, like unchecked. I'm just gonna like watch The Office like all day, every day for like the rest of my life.
Did you see my office pillows back here?
Oh yeah, Beats, Battlestar, Bears, Beats.
Yeah.
Yep. And I do watch a lot of Office, but my inner critic would have me like thinking like I just could never watch The Office because like I'm just going to, you know, do nothing in my life. So like I have a critic around that, you know, definitely like with shy people and like, and I still feel that like come up every once in a while. I just have more awareness around it. Like, oh, there's that inner critic that's telling me that, you know, I'm not an interesting person, or I'm going to be socially awkward, or I don't have anything valuable to say when I'm going to raise my hand, or I'm going to get tongue tied, or, and so, you know, start to pay attention to like what it's, you know, what that little snap judgment in your head is when you're, you know, about to put yourself out there, and see if it's the inner critic talking, because you might find yeah.
Yeah.
Inner critic, you know, they develop, I mean, they could develop later too, but like our first inner critic usually comes in childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And think about it, it's because it's like a protection, mechanism. Like maybe we got made fun of, in class, or, I know for me, I developed a fear around public speaking when I was like in third grade, because there were kids like making fun of me while I was literally standing doing the report. So then
Oh,
the critic learned, like, all right, don't ever do like public speaking, like you're not good at it, you're not a public speaker, like, and it was to protect me, from ever having that experience again.
yeah.
So
But now you do it, right? Don't you do like in-person workshops and stuff now?
now, yeah. So that's what, that's why this work is so powerful, right? To check this out, and to just not let all this stuff go unchecked for the rest of your life, because it's silly. It's silly to, have developed, these like kind of, things that happen to us in childhood, and to let them affect the rest of our life.
Yeah. So true. I love it.
Yeah.
We're getting comments. Let me make sure we don't have any questions in here. Amber, yes. Why? Hold on. It says, Amber, I loved it when you said, why can't you dye your hair? Oh, yeah. So when we were at this event, this girl came up and was like, oh, I love your purple hair. I wish I could do that. I was like, well, why can't you? Just do it. So that's what she's talking about.
She has an inner critic that.
Yep, she has an inner critic for sure. So yes.
A certain way to be accepted.
Yes. And then Heidi says hello. Hello, Heidi.
Hi.
Okay. Yes, no, that's so true. And like, there's like big examples that I can think of where this comes up, like at this event, particularly that we were at, this just happened. So it's like fresh in my mind. Nikki Nash was on stage, and she was talking about things that like you were afraid of, that you wanted to do, and how you could like commit to doing them. And I wrote down public speaking, like on the stage at events like that. And so like all that crap was coming up, just like you said. But even like, I remember when I first turned 16 and I could drive my car, and I remember like having huge anxiety around the fact that I was going to have to talk to like drive-through people in the car. Like my mom always ordered food for me in the car, and I was like, okay, I'm going to have to rehearse my order like 20 times, just like stupid stuff like that. So it does, it comes in at random places, and it affects everything if you let it. So I love that. I love this. This is so cool.
It's so great to go back and like just like check out those neural pathways that like have just been, worn through and through over the years, and it's not that like you can just undo this stuff right away, because like these are pathways that we've created in our mind for 20 years or more, but to like go back and look at that and try to get to the root of it and start to do the work to create some new pathways and positive experiences that are going to enable you to step into the next version of yourself.
Yeah, I love it. That's awesome.
So some other ways to start to recognize the inner critic, so we talked about, what words or phrases does it commonly say? Start to, recognize, is there emotion that it, a go-to emotion, underneath it all, it's usually fear. It's, worried that you're going to get hurt in some way. So it's trying to protect you. But, it may use shame as a way to kind of control you. Or maybe you do just feel like straight up fear, or like, what's that emotion that it's using? And then check in with your body too, like, there's a lot of mind-body connection. And so you can start to recognize, is it like a pit in my stomach that I start to feel like the inner critic has taken over? Is it like a spiraling feeling in my head? Is it like a heaviness on my shoulders? Like start to just create that awareness. Again, it's all this just creating awareness and starting to separate yourself from, that critic, and start to just create that space.
Yeah, it's crazy how it does show up physically like that. It's insane. I never really until a couple years ago when somebody pointed that stuff out to me, I was like, oh my gosh, it totally does. I never you wouldn't think it would be that powerful, but it so is.
Yeah. And there's that's kind of like a whole other can of worms too. Our bodies, our muscle can store memories and store experiences. I don't know a ton about that, so I'm not going to talk about it here, but there is a ton of research out there on that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. You know, and then another thing I like to ask, you know, my clients when I'm working with them is, does it sound like anyone you know? You know, is it, you know, it's not always even like, you know, if you're a female, it's not even always like a female voice. Sometimes it's kind of like this male voice, or people realize it's like, sounds like a parent, you know, again, these developed in childhood. So, you know, that could definitely be the case. So creating that awareness. So then the next step is to have a conversation with your inner critic.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So again, the inner critic has good intentions and it's trying to protect us. So we don't want to just fight with it or, you know, try to push it away because it's just going to like keep rearing up. And so we want to hear it out. So I like to think of it as like pulling up a bar stool and like having a good like long chat over a couple of beers.
Yeah. Okay.
Again, kind of like out there, right? Like this is like a part of you, but not a part of you.
Yeah.
And so there's a couple of different ways that you can do that. So obviously with a coach who's trained to be able to guide you through this work. There's also a couple of really great books out there where you can learn to do this work on your own. So it's called, the one or the system I recommend is called Internal Family Systems, and it's on Audible. It's I forget, it's Richard Schwartz, I think, is the author. And if you listen to the Audible version, you can like hear him guiding people through it, learning how to do it. And then the third way is actually, I think, kind of easiest if you're not going to work with a coach, and that's to write, right? So super easy. So I actually learned this in a conference with Liz Gilbert. So any Eat, Pray, Love or Big Magic fans. So in this conference, what she had us do is super powerful. And she had us write letters. So the first letter was from your sense of fear. So it would be like, Dear Brooke, I am your sense of fear. And I want to tell you that I'm really worried that and like you just keep writing and writing until there's nothing left to say, right? And so your letter might go on for like, you know, 2 pages or more. And you're just going to completely hear it out and just get it all out on paper. And so this is really powerful work around the inner critic, right? Because it's nervous, it's fearful.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when I did my letter, it was like, you know, Dear Britt, I am your sense of, I don't remember all of it, it's a few years ago now, but, you know, I'm your sense of fear. And I am worried that if you start this business, like you're going to fail and look like an idiot in front of all your friends and family. And I'm worried that you're going to lose all your money and, you know, like all of that stuff. And it was so powerful to get that all out of there.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. And it works really well too if you kind of like, you know, like create like a bit of a, you know, I don't want to say like sacred experience, but, you know, put on like some music or like really kind of like create this atmosphere that allows you to just totally get in the zone with this and you know, be respectful of this side of you that's really fearful.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so cool. That's
It's
so
really
cool.
Exercise. So then if you want to take it a step further and
We do.
yeah, which you should, because there's other parts of you, right? So next you can write a letter from your sense of enchantment. So this is like a totally different side of you. So there was that fearful side of you. Now we're going to tap into like that little magical side of you that just wants so much more for your life. Mm-hmm. And like, I love that word that she used too. Enchantment. Like that's not a word that like we use a lot. So I think just that word in and of itself like really sparked something in me.
Yeah. That's a cool word. I was thinking the same thing when you first said it. I was like, ooh, that's such a good word.
Yeah, right?
No one uses that enough.
I know. It's such a cool word. And so, you know, write the letter the same way where it's, Dear, you know, Britt, I am your sense of enchantment. And I want to tell you that I love it when you know, do this, and I want to see you go do more of this. Like, you know, maybe your sense of enchantment really wants you to go do public speaking.
Yeah.
Maybe your sense of enchantment just really gets a high from, you know, having this huge impact, you know, like on a huge room full of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so just completely let her speak as well.
That's
And
so
so
cool.
again, you want to give it, you know, complete space until there's nothing left to write. And then the final step is to write a letter of permission. So here's where you get to speak to that fear.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to speak to this other side of you that's kind of like the opposite side of you. And you get to give yourself permission to do whatever you want to do with all of that information that you now have. And so the way she suggested it, Elizabeth Gilbert, she was like, you know, some of us like A+ students, we really want to make things like super official. And so she was like, if you want to write like from the letter or from the office of the principal, you know, Brooke Lawson has permission to start her business and to go ahead and, you know, hire a public speaking coach or like whatever it is, you know. And so, you know, just write this kind of official letter of permission. And it sounds silly, but it is so powerful.
Yeah, I'm so excited about this. I want to do this exercise and I want to like have everybody do this. That's awesome.
Totally. Yeah, it's super cool. So those are some of the ways, you know, that you can get to know that inner critic, you know. And so it's all about like creating that awareness, first of all, so you can know when you're slipping into that place. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, interacting with it, hearing it out, you know. And sometimes the inner critic, I don't know, like I personally would never want to, like, even if it was possible to just like completely get rid of it, I don't think I would want to, because I feel like there's like sometimes it's been helpful. It just doesn't realize that I'm now like a much more evolved, wise person, and I don't need it to like constantly be scaring me out of doing things.
I love that. I love that explanation too. That's so true.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Let's see here. Okay, so if anybody has any questions, let's put questions in now. I'm so excited. There's so many people watching live today. This is like a huge, awesome topic that so many people don't talk about enough. So I'm super excited. Yeah, so if anybody has questions, put them in now. And then Britt, you have a kick-ass freebie and an awesome Facebook group too, if you want to talk about those while we wait and make sure there's no questions.
Yeah, so there's a couple of other not related to the inner critic. Well, I mean, it's all kind of tied together, but there's other tips and tricks that I have for building that confidence, getting comfortable, you know, being heard, being seen, being more visible, and, you know, work around visualizations, affirmations, things like that. There's also this cool thing called workshopping, which I know Mel Farr likes to talk about. And I think it's Esther Hicks or Abraham Hicks that started that. And it's basically like believing ahead of time that something's going to go well, and you talk about it as if it already happened, like you're going into the future and coming back and talking about it. So I don't know, does that, I'm like speeding through that. Is that a clear?
No, you're good. I think that that was really clear, because that stuff is like, so like, I don't know. I don't want to say woo-woo-y, because it's not really that. It's just very not normal behavior, I guess. So I thought that was a really good explanation.
And I'm so in that world now that like sometimes I like forget, like, oh wait, like not everyone else has read 20 books on this topic.
Yeah. I did the same thing too.
Yeah. But it's super cool because like with the new field of positive psychology now, like those worlds are kind of merging, and I feel like it's not so woo-woo to do like this affirmation stuff and this like believing ahead of time. Like, you know, they're finding like just a lot of information about like pathways in your mind that you're creating.
Yes. There is so much stuff now to like back up woo-woo stuff with science, and it's so cool. I love it.
Totally. So anyway, I kind of flew through some of those other tips and tricks, but in that freebie, I have, it's pretty jam-packed with different tips and tricks. And I have I made a bunch of affirmations in there, particularly for quiet people who want to get comfortable being seen and being heard. And they are affirmations that I did myself before stepping out and doing my first workshops around New York City. So they work. And, you know, I told you my story of being terrified ever since third grade. So, so this stuff does work. And it's funny, in my last workshop I did, I think they like thought I was lying. Like, what? Like,
I love it when that happens.
Yeah, you know, and I was like, no, literally, I use like stuff that I'm teaching you guys.
Yeah.
So in that freebie, there is affirmations I've written. Now with the affirmations, you know, feel free to modify them, customize them to whatever, you know, ones particularly work for you, or if you want to use like, you know, different wording, you know, they should feel most powerful to you. But I have a list of, I think, like 10 of them to get you started. And then I have a guided visualization in there, which, yeah, it actually walks you through getting comfortable speaking up in like a tense meeting or like a situation where you'd be uncomfortable speaking up. And so I've got that guided visualization that you can listen to in that freebie and a couple of other things.
Awesome. And then your Facebook group. Who's your Facebook group for?
Yes, so the Facebook group is for, it's geared towards women who are shy and are looking to grow in their careers. So, you know, I mean, I tend to, I guess, work mostly with, you know, women who are like in corporate or, you know, but it's all applicable to entrepreneurs as well. I mean, we're all trying to step out and, you know, be seen, be heard, expand ourselves, do new things. So I'm just ready for, you know, more women in leadership and new voices out there, and just some fresh talent and faces. So
I love it.
yeah, so feel free to, and I hang out in there pretty regularly. So
yes. So all of those links are in the description of the video. They're also in the event description. I'm just scrolling up and making sure they're in there. Okay, yes, they are. Awesome. Well, we didn't get any questions, but we got a lot of like hell yeses. Brilliant conversation. You're speaking my language, stuff like that. So if anyone watching the replay has any questions, feel free to put them in. Just make sure that you like tag Britt so she sees it. But I'm so freaking excited that you came in and did this, and this has been awesome. So
totally, thanks for having me on. I loved it, and I love our introvert connection, but I'm shy.
Yes. That's perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you again, Britt. Everybody have a great Sunday night. We got like 30 minutes till Game of Thrones starts if anybody else is watching.
Snacks, right?
So everybody have a great weekend. Thank you again, Britt. This was so awesome. And let Britt know if you have any questions, and download her freebie and join her group.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.